Hey there, welcome back to the Anxious Love Coach channel. My name is Natalie and I'm a relationship anxiety coach and a meditation teacher that specializes in the mindfulness of relationships. And today I want to talk about a common fear that a lot of people who struggle with relationship anxiety have, and that is the fear of cheating. If you have a fear of cheating in your healthy, monogamous, potentially long-term relationship, you're definitely not alone. I think this obsessive fear around cheating highlights the grapple between two sides of humanity, which is our ability to simultaneously love someone long-term and also our awareness of a carnal side of ourselves that desires novelty and change and newness. I think something that makes this so hard to reconcile is that these two sides of us seemingly cannot coexist in the same space. It's either we are totally committed and we don't have eyes for anyone else, or you're a cheater, or you're not serious. And unfortunately, I think this is a really black and white way of looking at humans and also human sexuality and human nature. I think it also lacks nuance and compassion. In my relationship with my partner Preston for 9 years, I used to really struggle with the fear of cheating because I simultaneously really loved and adored my partner and wanted to build a life with him. And I sometimes found myself prey to the occasional crush, or I might find myself attracted to someone, or I might be in a conversation with someone who was intellectually stimulating, and my mind would create a fantasy story of an alternate reality where I created a life with that person instead, and I kind of enjoyed that alternate fantasy reality, and that would cause me to panic because some part of me would think, oh gosh, if I'm having a thought about that person, that means I must not love my partner, and therefore I'm stringing them along and I should leave. And really rooted in that desire to not hurt my partner was a desire to be a good person, a desire to not pull my partner into something that wasn't taking his best interests at heart. But I also knew that there is a side of me that finds people attractive, and men and women. I recently, in the last year, embraced that I find women attractive as well. And that used to really freak me out. One thing that really changed my views a lot on the fear of cheating is actually understanding human psychology, understanding human sexuality, understanding attraction and desire, and realizing that it's not as black and white as I was raised to believe, where you either love your person and have no eyes for anyone else, or you don't love your person at all and want to be with someone else. I really don't think it's that black and white. I highly recommend Esther Perel's podcast called Where Should We Begin? She also has two wonderful books called Mating in Captivity and Rethinking Infidelity. And this has allowed me to have a much more nuanced, confident, and compassionate view on human sexuality. I think the thing that makes us so frightened of cheating is the shame that comes around cheating. Now, I'm not saying, condone cheating and cheating is okay. All I'm saying is that, to quote Esther Perel very loosely, cheating, infidelity is the one thing that is universally seen as bad and yet universally practiced, which tells us that infidelity and human nature to seek out novelty and newness while wanting to continue a long-term relationship speaks to human nature and less about the rightness and the wrongness of a person. I'm not talking about someone who's a compulsive cheater and has a sex addiction. I'm talking about when you're in a loving, committed relationship and you find yourself irresistibly sideswept by someone who grabs your fancy. And I believe now that it has a lot more to do with who that other person brings out in us rather than the rightness or betterness of that other person. So ever since I started seeing other people who activate me somehow as a mirror to what side of me has been starved for so long and bringing the focus back to me rather than the other person, that has allowed me to have a lot more confidence in my relationship and actually use my brief attractions or crushes that I've experienced in my long-term relationship to just simply teach me more about myself and not see them as a threat to the relationship anymore. I want to teach you 5 things that you can start to look at if you have a fear of cheating. Number 1, I want you to examine your unmet needs and work on communicating your needs with yourself, with your partner, and also with people outside of your romantic relationship. For example, let's say that you were at a event of some kind and you met someone who was very intellectually stimulating. Rather than assuming that they must be a better fit for you, you can examine what side of me did that person bring out that made me feel so alive? What side of me has been missing for so long, as opposed to them being a missing puzzle piece in your life? What side of you did they bring out that you love about yourself so much? And how can you start to bring that side of you to life, regardless of whether that person is there or not? All that person did was highlight a side of you that needs more space in your life. So if they brought a freshness in you, a youth, maybe it's time to take on some kind of hobby or connect with this side of yourself in your meditation practice, or change the tone of your voice so that it's more playful and fresh. These are the types of things that you can do to embody new sides of yourself. So what need was that person meeting? What side of yourself got brought out? And what need was met? Was it a sense of intellectuality? Is that a word? Intellectual stimulation, is that the need? What other need might you have? A need for laughter, a need for play, a need for lightness, a need for companionship, trust. What are some needs that you are needing in your life that maybe you could either communicate to your partner that you are desiring more of, or if your partner is meeting lots of your needs, just not that one, what are some creative ways that we can start meeting needs? For example, I have a need for play and sensuality, and I certainly get some of those needs met from my partner, but I also do Argentine tango, and that's something that also meets my need, and it kind of, sometimes it feels like I'm cheating, even though I'm not, because I feel so alive when I do it, and I don't have to step outside the boundaries of my romantic relationship. I have friends that do pole dancing, and that's what connects them to their sexual side while they are in romantic relationship. I also know that I used to go to Toastmasters, and the types of people I connected with there really enriched me intellectually. And those are how I meet many needs outside my relationship. Number two, and we touched a little bit on this in number one, is start to embrace your shadow sides. So more than likely, if you've been in a long-term relationship, you've maybe fallen into some kind of pattern of being, and you've forgotten that there were other sides of you that existed before you came into this long-term relationship. And the quickest way to find out which sides of you have been starved and put into the closet for a long time is when you get sideswept by a crush. That crush will bring out that side of you, your shadow side, that you haven't seen in a really long time. It might be, like I said, a playful side. It might be a naughty side. It might be a darker side. It might be a more serious side. And why did it feel so good? And one of the things I do with my clients in both our one-on-one programs and also in our group programs is we teach our women how to embrace the shadow sides of themselves. The bitch, the bad girl, the one who breaks the rules. So how do we bring all these new sides of ourselves to the table in our lives? Look into your hobbies and again, examine your unmet needs and work on embodying different sides of yourself. What facial expressions would this side of you make more often? What tone of voice would you be using more often? What hobbies would this side of you have? Number three, this is going to be a tricky one for some people, having compassion and awareness. This is where having a meditation awareness type of practice is so powerful. And cultivating the skill of observing your thoughts, observing your sensations and emotions in your body, and learning how to cultivate space between them so that you can be the observer of your inner experience rather than the one that is overtaken by them, although there is a place for that as well. And we definitely teach our clients how to work with desire, how to work with deep, intense emotions like sexual intensity from within. What do we do with all that stuff? It can be really frightening to be aware of the intensity of your desire, worrying that that desire is going to overtake you in some way and sabotage all the things that you've worked for so hard in your life. So For many who are aware that they are simultaneously in a long-term relationship that they really love and appreciate, and simultaneously have an intense desire for novelty and exploration with others sexually, these two things can feel really hard to reconcile. And while some people actually do desire to open up the relationship and explore with other partners, um, for some, they just want to know how to almost channel that desire into something else because they know that the consequence would be too great. So they're looking for help on grieving their unlived life with a bunch of other partners. So like I said, for some people want to actually leave or open up the relationship and they feel good about that. For those that just want to learn how to grieve their unlived lives without stifling their pain and grief around. They want to learn how to channel that, because I don't believe that actually necessarily sleeping with someone else is going to naturally make you find yourself, although it can feel that way. I believe that one of the things that you can do is cultivate an awareness practice, an observational type of practice through your meditation practice, and start to cultivate compassion towards your thoughts, towards your desires, towards your wanting, your longing. I actually work with primarily women, and we work on owning the longing and seeing what happens if we sit in that longing just long enough to see it change into something else, to turn into a devotion of some kind. What happens if we don't act on the longing, but we allow it to be there just long enough? That's where this work can be very powerful. Personally, I think that because our culture can be so binary at how we look on cheating, you're either a good person and you don't cheat, or you're a cheater and you're a bad person. Anytime the human mind tends to go in the direction of, what would happen if I cheat? We automatically place the label on ourselves as bad and flawed and wrong and immoral and unethical. And I think that that can be really damaging, and it also really takes out the complexity and nuance of human behavior and desire. So it's complex. And consider possibly that you are afraid that if you are gentle on yourself, if you love yourself for desiring another person, that you feel like you're letting all the bad people in your life get off the hook. To forgive yourself for having a sexual thought about someone other than your partner might suddenly feel like you're condoning all the people in your life that you thought were horrible because they cheated. That is why forgiving yourself feels, I think, so frightening, because it feels like we are condoning that behavior. There's enough space for both of these things to be true. We can not condone cheating and simultaneously have compassion for the pain, the desire, the longing, the emptiness that led a person to cheat, because I don't think that anyone is above having that longing, that desire. It's just a matter of some people cross that line and some people don't. But I believe that some people might disagree with me on this. I don't think anyone is actually above it, although it simultaneously is a choice. It's one of those two things are true paradoxes. It's always a choice, and simultaneously, I don't think anyone's above making a mistake. So cultivating compassion and awareness was number 3. The fourth one is learning how to observe your sensations, your emotions, and your thoughts. I want to go a little deeper into this. So when you are sitting in your meditation practice, I do something called the awareness exercise with my clients. And it's basically asking yourself, what are you aware of over and over and over? And just noticing the flow of thoughts, noticing the sensations in your body. Some will be more intense, some will be more subtle. And not just focusing on the intense sensation, the flushness, the heat, the pounding heart, but also noticing the things that are more subtle so that you can be aware of the totality of your inner experience, as opposed to hyper focusing on the one thing that is like driving the desire. And to also be aware of your emotions and labeling them. Okay, there is a sexual desire here right now. Where is it? Can I quantify it? If I were to scale it from 1 to 10 and how intense it is, where is the center of this desire? So developing an awareness of yourself on a very deep bodily level can allow these emotions to move through you, and as opposed to getting stuck in you because you're trying to resist them. I don't believe in wallowing in emotions. I believe that we have resistance to emotions, and that's what keeps them stuck. If we can simply go all in, which means in your mind, maybe you act out on the fantasy, maybe you dance or grunt with the emotion, you can discharge this energy out of your body so it's not controlling you so much. And lastly, this is going to be the hardest and yet simplest thing. Focus on you. I promise you that there's not another person out there that's going to magically make you feel alive or complete for the rest of your life. So even if you're temporarily infatuated with someone, all they do is point to a part of you that needs attention. They are not magically rescuing you from your life. If you decide to cheat and go be with them, you made a life change. And the life change is what makes you feel alive. But it's not the other person. You have a choice at any given moment to make a life change. No one else does that for you, even though it feels that way. So focus on you. Focus on finding yourself sexually. Focus on finding yourself spiritually, finding yourself emotionally and intellectually. These are the things that are going to make you feel more complete, not another person. So as much as it feels tempting to think that someone else is out there rescuing you from the void or the emptiness or the hard feelings, I don't believe that that is actually the case. There's no person out there that makes you feel alive and complete. So I hope that you find this helpful. We actually have a group program open. It opens every month. We have a new cohort, and I have a co-coach, Sheridan. Her name is Sheridan, and she was actually one of my very first clients and follows the Anxious Love Coach philosophy. So if you are wanting one-on-one support, she is your girl. And if you are interested in working with us, head on over to anxiouslovecoach.com and see what offerings we have. We also have a self-study course for those that want to do something more self-paced and have something more in their budget. All right, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this content.